Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the White Deer Filmmaking Podcast. I am Mark and I'm speaking to Adam today. I'm sorry, Adam, I should have let you introduce yourself. I'm taking up all the screen time here.
It's okay. Time. I know my place.
You know your place. Well, yes. Welcome back to what we are doing is continuing with our Conviction Without Remorse series. And this week we are speaking about directing films. So quite a big one. And this time we are speaking to a former podcast host who's actually, a former podcast guest who's actually hosting this week, and that is Andreas Avgousti, who entered his film Petra into our festival and won the Best Horror Award. And we wanted to speak to him because we just really loved the directing that he did with the film, and his film was set in the 70s, similar to us, so we thought that there were a few parallels, and we just really liked chatting to him way back when. I think it was you and Al, I think, that talked to him the first time.
So, yeah.
Yes, it was, yeah.
And I think
really
he has
good to talk to, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had a really good grasp on directing, I think,
yeah.
And we could see how he'd be understanding of what we were doing and what we wanted to convey, especially with the 70s element to his film as well. And he also joined us to give us some feedback on the first cut of the film as well. So that he saw the kind of the first cut of it as well. So he's been really helpful throughout the whole process. As
was his cinematographer, I believe, who also watched it. Yeah, that's right. So the whole team is basically a good sounding board for us. And actually their input really helped us improve it for sure. So
and shows just how great filmmakers they are to be able to jump over to our project and give us some feedback and not hold back, give us some honest feedback and see realize that we wanted to improve things, we wanted to make it as good as it could be, and it's great to have them on board and great to have Andreas interviewing us here, and I guess in particular Al being the director of our film, and then we chip in as and when we want to.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, we won't drag it on for any longer, and we'll get straight to the chat. Remember to stick around for Andreas's details at the end, and also the Conviction Without Remorse discount code.
Yep, so, and his details are in the show notes.
Well.
So
Absolutely.
You can follow him as we go through talking about this, but which I would recommend because he's a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
Let's hear him interviewing Al and us.
Brilliant.
So firstly, I would like to say, guys, congratulations for your film. Thank you for sending it to me to watch, and I really enjoyed it. I found the Conviction Without Remorse. It's a film packed with great performances overall, and really captivating story. That it's always kept you guessing what's going to happen. And I enjoyed how it was. It's I would say a crime thriller, but it has a family storyline at its core, which I really enjoyed that because it gives it an additional depth to the story and the characters and the motivations and all that. And I really enjoyed the cinematography as well. I really like some all the close-ups that you had, and the lighting as well, and all of that I really enjoyed. So I have some questions prepared as well. After my research and all that. So the first question I will say, so it's for Alistair. So this was your first time not producing while directing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I always directed and produced, and I'm really curious to hear, like, how did that feel? How was the experience compared with previous films?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think being able to solely direct this film was a massive bonus, because you just take all of that logistical sort of paperwork, administration side out of filmmaking. And as a director, as you'd appreciate, Andreas, it's like you get to focus solely on creativity, and it is such a because directing and producing are such different, there's such almost opposite ends of the spectrum. If you're constantly having to jump between one or the other, you can't ever fully focus. And that was what was great about having Mark on this film as my wingman. Sorry, sorry, Mark. As producer, who did a fantastic job, kind of taking on all those roles and going above and beyond. Really kind of, in terms of the recruitment, acquiring locations, acquiring outfits, assembling the team, sorting out timings, and to not have all of those elements to worry about, everything was so much clearer. Then I could work better close with the actors. Me and Adam had more time to sort of work on the cinematography, and I think it definitely made it a much more enjoyable experience from my point of view. Definitely.
So you say that this affected you, like working with actors then?
So I think sort of being able to take that time and so I mean, what I always like to do is in the run up to any film, I sort of have like Skype or Zoom calls now with the actors of the films that we make, giving them that time to sort of get to know each other, to get to know me, so we all understand each other's styles and
better
needs.
Communicate as well.
Exactly, and it gives us time to sort of perform rehearsals for the actors to kind of get into those character zones, to kind of be kind of what they are sort of written to be, if that makes sense. And it's quite nice to be able to build on those relationships, so that when you do come to set on the day, you're almost like family, like everyone kind of, you already have that bond already. And I think that definitely is kind of a strength of that, working with them in the pre-production process, and not having to worry about the producing side of it certainly expands those relationships, both on set and off set. So
I absolutely agree as well with this. When I did Petra, I was always thinking more about the production and all that, because there were so many things you had to do, many things, and then you need to also rehearse with your actors and speak with them and get to know them and all of that. So it's I completely understand what you're saying. I saw in the credits that you were also the editor for this. Do you often edit your own films?
It's kind of it's one of those things that I think. I mean, I really love doing that. I love because I always think of myself as a like a big picture kind of director. Sort of, I'm always thinking, right, how is this going to end up looking in the final product, and kind of piecing it all together. So editing in a way is basically very satisfying for me, because it's like putting the jigsaw pieces together. And it's nice to see it come together at the end. I think I would always like to edit my own films. Whether that will always be possible, I don't know, because I think sometimes as a director you can get a bit attached to your work, and to therefore have somebody who could, like a different set of eyes, who can take the piece for what it is and offer suggestions and make severe changes, which 9 times out of 10 are better for the film and the end product. I think that's definitely the benefit of having an external editor. But like I say, for me personally, I really do enjoy editing my films, and I think when the day comes I might have to let that go. That'll be a tough day, but yeah, it's always really enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I mean, they say it's always a great idea to have an editor on set with you, because an editor will know, like, you know, like, oh, this is really, this can work, or this, you know, all of that, all the technical as well with when you're filming. So I think it's, you know, I understand, you know, that sometimes, especially when you're editing a film at the end, you might get a much longer film or something like that. But then if you have different eyes, different views, it will help you to, you know, get a second or a third like opinion about it. So yeah. But I think it's great that you're editing your films as well. I don't think I will be able to, like, I can edit some, you know, in some basic level myself. I'm not even close to like be able to edit like a proper, like a film or something. But that's great. I think that you're doing that.
Yeah, I usually get so I would kind of almost like piece together like a rough cut, if you know what I mean, and then afterwards I'll send it over to Adam. So Adam is the second pair of eyes for me, who kind of goes over and does all the polishing, the color grading, elements of sound mixing, and then has in this particular film then taken it on to another team of individuals who have covered the sound mixing and composing, and that's great to have been able to pull so many different individuals into the filmmaking process, and that creative collaboration has certainly produced something great at the end. So it's
definitely.
It's great.
It's been the biggest post-production that we've done, I think, that we've collaborated on together. I think getting it properly sound mixed and getting a proper score written for it, like an original score written for it, I should say. It's been the biggest and most in-depth that we've gone in post-production. So I guess that you've, in some ways, you have let go of not the editing side maybe just yet, but definitely the option to push it further and finish off the sound a lot better than maybe we've done in the past.
Yeah, and I'm all right with it.
So I mean, I didn't watch any of your previous films, but from this film I can tell, for example, when it comes to cinematography and the color correction as well. So Adam, you did the color correction as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so something I really appreciated, I would say, that's the correct word to use, is I like how during the scenes when there was the interrogation between Dominic and your character Mark,
the barrister.
The barrister. Yeah, that was the close-ups felt like almost claustrophobic. That I felt that was done on purpose to make you feel that what might happen to Dominique's character, to Dominic, and also how the color was like cold and bluish, and then in the other scenes that the flashbacks and all of that, like the color is so vibrant and it's colorful and warm, and even the camera movement, all of that, it feels like you can breathe more when you're watching those scenes, which I really like, this distinction between the two, and I think it juxtaposes what's happening and all of that really well. So well done with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was big discussions that we had from the very start led to creating that. So it's nice to hear that it's worked for you and it's told the story in the way that we intended.
Yeah. It really did, honestly. So my next question is to Alistair and Mark. So it's about casting. I saw you guys were responsible for casting. So what were you looking for when you were casting your actors?
Ooh. So yeah, I think
for this film, I mean.
Yeah, sure. It was kind of I think from my point of view, I was looking for kind of anybody who could portray these kind of multi-layered, complex characters, and who could really bring life to those performances, who could take those characters, dig beneath the surface, and produce characters who we kind of relate to, who feel human, who have their own needs and desires. Because also, as well, it's... Some people might look at the film and potentially, if we'd cast wrong, you could take some of those characters and think, oh, well, they're just solely evil, or they're the good person, or they're the victim. But it kind of needed to be more than that. They needed to be kind of... you needed to understand the full identity that made those characters who they were. And that for example, the Brooke character... from the outset, yes, she is manipulative, and yes, she obviously has a much darker side, but having the right character in those roles, you kind of start to think and feel, actually, she's obviously been in a very difficult situation herself. She is mentally not in a good place. Her motivations, whilst twisted, perhaps come from a sort of an interesting standpoint. Same with Dom as well. Dom, classic example. That needed to be the right actor playing the dominant character as well. Again, very complex. And Christian Dapp, who played Dom, did a fantastic job of sort of almost deceiving the audience. You could easily assume at the very start of the film that he is an unnerving character. You don't feel comfortable watching him, and you kind of you feel that there's something not quite right there. And it's only as the film progresses that we understand that it's not the fact that he's just insane or anything like that. It is just that he is the product of his environment. And that's the same with all the characters, and Rita Sigmund and Simon Crudgington, who played their characters Brooke and James respectively, brought so much to the characters in that standpoint as well. Mark, obviously I would talk about the junior barrister, but I think I'd like to give you the honour of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything that Al's just said. I think we knew very much that these characters were going to be complex, and we knew that we would tell the story in 15 to 20 minutes, and how much can you really show of a character in that time. So we knew that we had to find the right people in order to convey that, and the best actors can do that with a single look, or just maybe the inflection that they put on their voice, something as simple as just how they might say something in one scene to make it a 3D character, something a bit more developed, which it might never get explained, but you don't need it to be explained because they can do it, like I say, just by looking, or even by not saying anything at all, by taking a pause or something. And yeah, I mean, we knew that when we were writing that that we wanted, for example, the Brooke character to be like a caged bird. I mean, and things like that. And we didn't. I don't know, because Al always sets a bit of a challenge for the actors, in that they take a bit of the script and see what their interpretation of it is, but then also asks them to create their own work, their own monologue or their own piece, where they take the character and create something of their own, just so we can get further insight into what direction they are taking the character. And I think especially for Brooke and Dominic, so Rita and Christian respectively, it was almost like they'd both written the script with us, because they just saw exactly what we wanted, exactly. And Christian brought this intimidating factor which we always wanted, and Rita, it was almost like she was made for the role, which is kind of, I think we even said at one point, like, what was it she said? That the character speaks a lot to her, and if you've seen the film, that's a very worrying statement. But obviously, it's all in all the. It means that she can obviously get into the character's thoughts and feelings of being trapped or caged or something, which we didn't need to sort of go into it in any detail as people. We could just let her explore the character in whatever way she wanted to, and it was that. Then that I think we just from the outset we just trusted them. Would you agree with that? We just trust them, like you. It's now as much your character as it is as it ever was ours.
It's also the same thing as to why you can sometimes find great acting talent just by not looking at previous material, not looking at show reels, but giving them that opportunity in that moment to take a character that they might be perfect for and create their own concept around that character.
Yeah.
And then to be able to trust your actors to do that.
Yeah. I don't think we looked at Rita's showreel at all, did we?
No, not at all. Because you didn't need to, because once you'd sort of seen her video audition, you just knew there and then, right, that's it, cast.
And did you almost have to? Did you almost have to check whether you'd sent her the full script?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
We did think at one point that she. We'd somehow accidentally sent her the script because it was just.
Did we literally say that? Yeah, we sent her the script. Yeah, because she just got it straight away. So I think part of it is always going to be luck. Who comes along, who auditions for you. I mean, casting directors are often seen as the enemy, but really they just want to find the right person. And fortunately, we did. We found the right people. And even with Simon, he'd actually joined the project a lot later. But I think we just knew that he would be joining later. But if we just said, look, are you interested in being a part of this that we've already established or we've got going? We just trusted that he would just come in and have this 3D developed character already. And he was perfect for it. And
he did a lot of reading as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah, lots of research. We didn't ask him to do anything, really. I know you had spoke to him mostly, Al, but we didn't ask him really to do anything. We just said, here's the script. This is roughly who James is. Go, it's up to you now, kind of thing.
The strength of his own initiative, really.
Yeah. And even on set, he was reading a book on soldiers
PTSD.
Returning from war, PTSD and things. So such a professional, even up to the day of the shoot, he was there doing his research.
No, I mean that's great, and all of that shows in the end result. For me, I would say like the fact that this is a film based in the late 70s, and somehow the characters managed to be to speak to the audience now, like they're relatable. Even if it's a story in the 70s, it's relatable now, because I think aside of the actual story, the where every actor like took the source from, the reason why they're doing things and all of that. I think that spoke. And that was very like you made them a lot more relatable, I would say, and even if it's a film in the 70s, so I think that worked really well. That's why I wanted to ask about the casting. So yeah, that's great.
Thank you very much.
And
it's a good question, because I actually think that's one of the positives of Petra as well. Like, there was so many layers to the characters that I think that's the reason why we sort of wanted you to do this, because I think
thank you.
You have you and Al especially have the same kind of interpretation, and I think any good director has this desire to have a well-developed character. No matter what the plot is or the genre or anything like that, having a well-defined character should be the main point of a story. Yeah. So
for me, it's like something I've learned from my films, even from my previous film, Forget Me Not. When I was talking with the actress Sophie Brooke, I was talking with her, and she was telling me like her interpretation, and we were talking like we were filming the final scene of the film, and she was talking to me and she was asking me some questions about her character, and when she was asking me something, she said, why does this happen, and why don't I do this? And when she asked me that, I was like, you're absolutely right. Like, why isn't her character doing this at the end? And that changed completely the ending of the film, and it worked in so much better after that. And that's why I after that experience, I was like, I always want to ask the actors as well. I want to speak with them. I want to, with Petra, like, I met with the actors for rehearsal the day before, and they had the script and all that, but I wanted them to, use their own words. And not just because of the dialect and to be authentic and all of that, but also because I wanted them to, say these words out and see how it sounds and all of that. And is that something Petra will say, and how Varvara interpreted the character of Petra. So that's why I think this is the best thing to do. You get the best result at the end.
And you did some improv as well, didn't you, with the actors on this?
Mm-hmm. It was
yeah. That was actually going to be my next question. Yeah. So.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's great.
So the use of improv, was it? Yeah. It's kind of one of those great things I love to be able to do is to let the actors, like, sound silly, but just to let them act, to give them that trust to basically say, right, okay, let's take this one step further from, you sort of taking lines from the script and performing them. How about you incorporate some of your own lines in a way that you feel your character will deliver them? And then what this led to was 2 fantastic monologues from Christian, when he's in the cell, explaining to the junior barrister about how he met Brooke and how sort of given a bit of an insight into their deep relationship and how infatuated he is with her. That was brilliant. And then secondly was Rita's monologue at the end of the film, as she's kind of saying all these lines to kind of get into Dominic's head and really kind of pull on his heartstrings. Yes, yeah. Again, they'd sort of both prepared they had run it by me, and I was just like, well, yeah, let's roll the cameras and see what happens, kind of thing. And in both cases, it was great, and it just raised those scenes just above and beyond what they could have been had we not included those monologues.
We've actually prioritised those scenes in the end, and they've taken up quite a lot of the runtime simply because they added to the characters so much that beyond what the script did, these improvised scenes where we let the characters be developed by the actors do take up the vast majority of some screen time, so it worked.
Yeah, but I think for a story like in this film, it's vital for the characters to understand why they're doing certain things, to be empathetic to us and all of that. So we feel sorry for what happens. We we can understand their actions and all of that. And I think that it makes it much more impactful at the end, which works really well in this film. I would like to ask the next question about production. So how was it producing a film in the late 70s? Like, what were your biggest challenges?
Ooh, I think it would be a combination of the right locations, the right costumes, and the right look for the characters. I think they were the fundamental three challenges we faced sort of making this film. And luckily, through a combination of sources, we got the three fantastic locations, which were the courtroom, the jail cell,
the magistrate.
Yep. And then Mark very kindly got us into a room above his parents' pub, which we were able to completely renovate to fit the 70s style. And we spent
Nag's head.
Yes, that's it.
I read it. I read it in the credits. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think Mark will definitely agree. I think this has been the most ambitious challenge in terms of production and production value.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you agree, Mark? It was definitely a challenge at times.
Yeah, it was. We were very fortunate to sort of have some of the locations that we did have, and it was only through a bit of luck and very particular planning in order to be able to use them. But I think it allowed, I don't know, I've always thought that for you, Al, it would have allowed you and the actors to almost, especially the actors, to get into their characters a lot easier, and especially when we did the pub scene. Well, obviously the living room scenes, just allowing the actors to be in the environment, and then whatever you told them to do, then they would just be able to then almost be living themselves. Yeah, so they're so immersed that they'll be living in this room. This is their room, and it makes sense that whatever direction they were given, it made sense to them because they had become a part of this world. And I think after we were lucky to get the courtroom, and you always say this, Adam, get the courtroom, then we got the cells. We had to do something really good for the living room scenes, which were filmed last, in order to make it work. And I think one of the beauties of the thing that connects all of the different locations together is like the shot choices, the close-ups, for example, and that's a sort of, the style runs throughout, the directing style runs throughout in these different locations. But
I think also some of the production design that we did, some of the things in that living room scene probably weren't even seen on camera. Certain things were maybe just seen in the background, or not fully made to be shot like up close or anything. But I think that also just helps to build the world that the characters were living in, and also we really didn't want to be like confined to shooting to just like two walls of the room kind of thing. We wanted 360 degrees of room to actually shoot in and not be limited whilst we're on set, really.
I mean, all of that, you can tell in the film, the world you build, it feels like the 70s, from all of the environment to the costumes, even the makeup of Brooke's makeup. It's very 70s, like late 70s makeup, I would say, and the costumes as well. What is that called? Like a wig? the one that the barrister wore.
It's. We actually did have this explained in the film originally. It's what was it? It's an original. It's the horsehair wig, I think it was originally from. Was it the 19th century? Al, you did. You put this in.
So 18th century.
18th probably. So the person that gave us the concept for the film was a former QC, and they had all this gear, so it is all authentic, all has been used in the kind of environment that we end up using it in, and like I was saying before, there's lots of things which came together very through I guess once you learnt one thing, and once you tried one thing, other things sort of fell into place, because they gave us the concept for the film, and then I shared that onto Al, and then Al said he knew of this location, and then the QC that gave us the idea, who also plays the judge in the film, he was like, well, you can use all these costumes, I've got them all, you can use this room, you can a few things really worked out well, which we were very thankful for.
We should thank Ella as well.
We should,
just
absolutely.
Because we never get round to it, unfortunately. So
Ella was our hair and makeup artist, who we said to her, like, we're doing the 70s. Can you do it? Can you achieve that look? And she was. There was very little that we had to explain. She was like, yeah, I just bring me the actors, make sure they have long enough hair, and I can just do it, basically.
And the wigs as well.
And the wigs, she helped with
provided.
All that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But she is really the one responsible for Brooke's look, in her Cynthia LaBelle kind of photo shoot scene. So
in terms of makeup, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Mark also sourced a lot of the or all of the clothing as well. So that's thank you to Mark as well.
Well, we've got we've actually we're chatting to another someone later, just on the art direction as well, and it's like the first time that we, I think, as a three, all did that to an extreme level, because we had to, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do it in the time period that we wanted to. But I think it almost, I don't know if you'd agree with Al, so taking that side away from you, Al, not in the way that it was out of your control, but also the admin work of not having to. So we knew that we wanted the right costumes, but so that you didn't have to take time away from the creative decision making in order, and let someone else do that. So that just let the direction be done by you. So if, as I think, remember, an alternative was like, so here are some clothing options for the character of Dominic. What do you think? Do you like any of them? And if so, which one? And for which point? So you make that decision, and then I'll just handle like buying it and getting it delivered and everything. So I think that it's just very strange, like taking things away from somebody's responsibilities lets them just be freer, which makes sense. Obviously, having less work to do allows you to focus more. But yeah, I hope it helps. I hope it helps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think when you like delegate and you trust people that they feel that this project is also theirs, and they will, they know what's best. So when you do that, I think that's when you get like the best result at the end.
Sure. Yeah. They put more heart and soul into it. When the more attached they are, the more they also want to see the film succeed as much as you do as a director. So if you can achieve that is the real gold standard. Yeah.
And that was throughout the whole of the cast and crew as well. Like, just you couldn't have got a better group of people, albeit it was a fairly small cast and crew, really, but everyone really cared on set. I think there's not one person that was holding us up or anything, all the way down to like our production assistant as well. Everyone just worked, they cared so much on it. So yeah, I agree with you there, Andreas, as well.
But also, just to add, like, as much as we definitely tried to take away responsibility where where it shouldn't have been, and really been focused on that, we did try and make sure that we had plenty of meetings together, so that we, as a three, were all connected and we all knew exactly what was going on at different times, and we all could run through whatever tasks we had to do, from a point of like just friends as well. Like, you know, it's nice to know that as a group of three people you're achieving something which, you know, it is a difficult process, and going back and thinking, wow, that was a lot of work, but all of it was incredibly fun. And I think in many ways that just comes from the kind of like just from the top, in the way that kind of Al always likes to let people do what, you know, he trusts people to do what they do best, so that there isn't any friction, and it's always kind of like, we always know that if we want to present our ideas, then we can do, and if it's not right for the big picture, then it's not right, but at least you have the option to say what you want to, because you think it might help. Like, as Adam was saying, right, even like throughout the whole cast and crew, everyone had their input, even down to production assistants. Just people were able to just say, I have this idea, it might not work, but here it is. And, you know, other directors might take a different view of that. They might, you know, have to have their very particular view of what's going on, and they don't want to be disturbed. I wouldn't say that's your style, Al, but I would say it's a benefit of that is it is a creative collaboration, as opposed to a one person
creative monopoly
vision. Yes. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So
so this kind of brings me to my next question. So you guys, you worked before in previous films together.
Yeah.
And like, have you always worked from the first film? Have you always worked so well together?
Oh no, we hate each other. We hate each other so much.
It kind of grew quite naturally from the very first, from the very early days. The first film I was a co-director on the first film I worked on, and Mark was one of the lead actors in that film. And since then, me and Mark have always worked as a kind of director-actor kind of collaboration on quite a few projects after that. That kind of happened quite naturally. There were quite a few parts that I wrote with Mark in mind as the actor playing those. So that kind of grew quite organically. And Adam, I met a few years later, and sort of we kind of both found out at this meeting that we were both doing something similar, and so Adam got involved in one of my other films, Voice of Belief, and then subsequent
but not as a DOP though, just assisting.
But subsequent films after that, he took on the DOP mantle, and it was kind of from there, having the three of us working together, has, I don't know, I think we obviously must be quite well aligned in our thought processes, because a lot of what we do is it feels quite natural when we're all on set together. We kind of have a shared vision that seems to have we've all sort of individually thought, and then it's nice to have it kind of reaffirmed when we're together as a three, but each of us with our own unique spins that we then feed into the end product. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that foundation to work from, basically.
but it has been growing for a couple of years. Well, maybe 3 years for you and Mark, but I think a couple of years for us too. So it's taken a while to get to this stage, and I think just before we started this project, we were working on a film called The Prison, and that really like solidified that we could do something really good out of this, and that was also the one where maybe Mark was seeing that he could potentially take on some of the producing duties off of Al, and I was seeing that I needed a bit more time with Al in terms of the working on the cinematography. So all of those things kind of we were kind of, I guess, at a crossroads of what to do next, and it just kind of seemed right that we could kind of fill in the blanks and try and do something of a good quality that would actually show off all of our separate areas of what we could do, and that's kind of where this film was born out of, and hopefully what it achieves.
But it was a big I'd say from Al's point of view, might be totally wrong, but in my opinion it was very I think generous of you to allow us the chance to be a bit more involved in obviously what was Fresh Air Films and Media very much was your baby. You started it and everything, and to that point it had very much been you doing nearly everything. So to allow us to be involved on a greater level in a way that would take some elements out of your hands, I think was a brave thing to do, but also a generous thing to do. And obviously since then, I think it's achieved good things and allowed us all to grow and develop. And it's just out of the idea of sort of taking a chance, I guess. I guess thank you really for that.
It's kind of, well, yeah, it's all right. No, I mean, Andreas, I don't know if you sort of agree, but on your sets, when it's kind of low budget films, people aren't really getting paid as such for anything. You want to make sure that everyone is getting something out of that, and that is, it's kind of giving them those windows to play around with and to experiment with their individual crafts, to really kind of boost their experience. And I think as a director you're also kind of a leader, but you should probably always try and eat last, in the fact that everyone else, you give everyone else the opportunity to eat first, to sort of grow and gain experience from that point of view, and then seeing that happen as a director is quite fulfilling, because it produces that end product that is above and beyond the standard that even you could expect at that stage, kind of thing.
I think it's a very nice way to put it, the way you described it now. Definitely. No, I mean, all of that it shows in your film, and you can tell that everyone involved had put their heart and soul in this film to make it like the best as possible. So I think that's it's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
So what's a final question I had? So what's next with Conviction Without Remorse?
Ooh.
After you've done it now, so what's coming?
Yeah, well, we've got the film's about to go on the festival circuit. Obviously, we'll see what happens with coronavirus and how that impacts the festivals. Yeah. But also currently, as a small bonus, me and Mark are currently co-writing the feature version of Conviction Without Remorse. I think we're about halfway through that at the minute, aren't we, Mark, of the first draft? So
yeah, we are. I mean, I think we said this last week that actually the short film, now we have more chance to develop a few areas and to go into more detail from a directing point of view. Yeah, actually we have a lot of the material already, or at least a lot of the character work is done. So it's exciting actually to be able to expand on what we already have, because that's quite a rare thing to be able to do, because a lot of it's about having to make it shorter and more concise, but actually now we are allowed a little to make it bigger and grander and things. But
no, I mean, you can tell it's a kind of film that in the feature form it has the potential to grow and expand. So as a feature, it's a different, it's kind of a different feel from a short film, and in a way that in the short film you have to like only find the small things that will help you build the story and the character development, but in the feature you can give so much more depth and backstories and all of that you don't have the time to do in the short film. So I think it's great that you're doing that actually. It's really good.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely very exciting. And have you ever guys done a feature before?
Not yet. So it's one we all want to tick off our bucket lists, you know.
Definitely.
Al's written. You've written at least one.
Yeah.
Is it just the one at the minute?
Yes. So there's another film I directed previously called Between the Divide. I've got a feature version written for that now, which is close to being almost ready. And then this one that me and Mark are currently working on. So yeah.
Is your plan to film this script over the feature version? Like,
yeah, definitely. Sort of, if we can, sort of get a budget and make it a bit grander, that would be a real exciting thing for us all to do. I think it would be.
I think.
Great,
do you think it will help having the short version handy so you can show to people and get people excited and get people on board with the bigger project?
Absolutely. I mean, the short really complements. It's such a great like treatment for a feature. That I think people will see the short and will want to see more and want to see that story expanded.
Absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Thanks.
And it's what I thought as well when I watched the short. You can tell that it's so much. Like there's a lot more storytelling you want to say as well with this, and but it's great, especially if you manage to use the same cast as well, because it works really well with the characters. They know the characters and everything, so
absolutely,
it will be. Best of luck with this. I think it's a great idea.
Thanks, Andreas.
Thank you very much. Yeah, brilliant.
I think I've asked all the questions I wanted to.
Cool.
I wrote down all of them, and thank you guys for having me and for answering all of my questions I had about this film. Thank you. I really enjoyed watching it, and best of luck with the festivals and with your the script for the feature version as well.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for taking the time to speak to us as well. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Thanks very much for listening. Another good. I mean, we say that all the time, don't we? Is that given now? Another good episode. I liked it anyway.
Yes, so did I. And it's always like, because I was the first time I obviously got to speak to Andreas properly, and I listened to your conversation before, and I just really wanted to chat to him myself, and obviously got the opportunity now. And yeah, just a really nice discussion about filmmaking and directing. So big kudos to him, and a big thank you for coming on and helping us out, really, and everyone involved on his team that helped us, make our film better. So
Yeah,
big thank you.
A very intelligent filmmaker and director, I would say. And go follow him. Do you have his details?
Yes. So you can follow him and also his film. So they have Andreas has a Twitter account, which is if you search for Andreas Avgousti, and the film has its own Twitter account, which is Petra Movie, and Andreas has an Instagram page, which is Andreas_Avgousti, with spelling all put in the show notes, so you can just copy and paste as if you want to. Anything else to add before we remind people of the code?
No, I don't think so. Just again a thank you to Andreas, and we look forward to seeing what he creates next.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll get to collaborate with him in the future. That'd be really cool. But anyway, the series code, which, let me remind you, is 15% off as opposed to 10% off, and that is off any entry into our festival. And it's running throughout this series. It's a bit limited. There's only 50 uses of this, so get in quick if you want to use this.
And get in quick because the this year is coming to a close soon.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So if you want to be entered into our annual awards for this year, which details of that will be following very soon in the next couple of days, then absolutely get in quick. But if you're ready, the code is WDPODCWR891. One more time, WDPODCWR891. Okay.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Well, we'll see you all next time. We'll be continuing the series, and we've got another guest host on. So thank you very much for listening, and have a great time until then.